Hello and thank you for joining us on the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, Chief Justice of Nigeria replies Supreme Court justices who accuse him of corruption, says they are to be seen, not heard. And later on the show, President Buhari finally replaces Akpabio, Amechi, and other ministers who resigned over 2023 elections. I'll be hanging out with Dotun Oladipo and Paul Dada, while Babajide Kolade Otitoju will be joining us from Abuja. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Let's start from our ivory towers, where management of some university are wielding the big stick regarding sexual misconduct by lecturers. About 18 lecturers in various tertiary institutions have been indicted and dismissed over sexual misconduct in 1 year. The Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU, Ile-Ife in Osun State, topped the list of institutions with the highest number of lecturers indicted for sexual misconduct, as it dismissed 3 lecturers who are professors. 2 other professors have also been sanctioned, while OAU launched a probe into allegations of sexual harassment in April 2022. In the University of Abuja, 2 lecturers have been dismissed for sexual misconduct, though the Senate had in 2021 passed a bill stipulating 21 years imprisonment for ranting lecturers. Most of the lecturers found guilty were simply sacked. Dosu, this is becoming a big problem in our tertiary institutions, and it has always been there. But right now, I think it has gotten to the peak.
Well, I must commend the universities for acting now. It shows that all the while that we have been faced with this problem, what the institutions have done, and even those students who are involved, especially their parents, have been to just keep quiet about it. And like we say, let the sleeping dog lie. But
they've been harassed in silence in time past.
Silence. And students have now students have learned over time to keep quiet and then perhaps conform or leave the system because the lecturers wield the big stick. But we are seeing a change. And what it means, a lot of times, let's thank technology for it. We've seen lecturers filmed naked. We've had voice notes. We've seen WhatsApp messages, text messages. Thank God for technology. It's working. But like you said, are we applying the maximum punishment? Because it's important. You can't say to a thief all of the time, go and sin no more. Sometimes you also need to pass home the message, especially for those who are still engaged in this act, by taking them to court. They should be prosecuted.
After
after the sack. It's just like you being in the police or the military. If you kill someone, the court martial
your orderly room trial.
They take you to the orderly room if you're in the police or the military. After that, they hand you over to the civil authorities to prosecute you. We shouldn't forget that part of the law. It should be stridently pursued because it's the only way to bring some sanity. Let us know those who are doing well as students. Let us know those who don't have the capacity to read, but who go to school to offer favor to lecturers in order to get, because these things are really happening. That's why in some cases we have students who come out in flying colors, so-called flying colors. They can't perform on the job because they know next to nothing. And let us know these lecturers who are indulging them.
Paul, now when you look at some other universities, they've even recommended that, code of dress code for students. That's, apart from, let me try and play the devil's advocate here, apart from the lecturers, being randy, but some of the students could, what you see, what they wear to school, and you won't just phantom that these are university students. So some schools, they've decided that, for university, they're regulating it, that this is the way you dress.
That's fine, but it's not an excuse for a lecturer to now begin to harass a student. What makes us different from the lower animals is that we can rationalize. We can say, no, this is not a good thing to do. Even if a student is seducing you, you are the lecturer. You can say, no, I reject it.
We are still human.
Is that?
We are still human.
Yeah, we are human, but that's what also that's also what gives you the power to be able to resist. You are not a dog. Okay. And look, the issue of sexual harassment is not even new. It's just that there is now heightened awareness. Yeah. In 2018, there was this report survey that at least 70% of female students that passed through, female graduates that passed through tertiary institutions were one way or the other sexually harassed. Back in the day, you remember the song of Abdul Karim, Mr. Lecturer, reflecting what was already going on. But now, we're talking about it. And like he said, we want to see some of these lecturers being prosecuted in court because it is a criminal offense. When you harass someone that's supposed to be under your watch. So I think this lecturer's beast in the ivory tower needs to be to be dealt with beyond being sacked or whatever else they do to them. We want to see them being made examples. When you hear that a professor has been jailed for 21 years, another professor there has been jailed for 21 years, I think it's going to serve as a deterrent to other people. Then the beast in them could die.
Okay. I'm not sure. BKO, what's your take on this? Is BKO already in Abuja?
Yeah, this culture of sexually transmitting grades to students in our tertiary universities has been there for so long. I just hope that we can find a way to put an end to this nonsense. And if we cannot put an end to it, to bring it down significantly. Lecturers are paid from taxpayers' money to teach students. A lot of them are not committed to the job of teaching students. They are busy chasing their students. I'm really, really worried because this thing has serious implications even for the future of our country, where people pass through the university system, pass through tertiary institutions, and they can't defend their certificates. They can't defend the grades that were sexually transmitted to them. It's a matter of concern. I'm happy that the universities are taking steps. I think after the BBC expose, this thing, people have come to see this as a very big problem. But it's been there for so long. It's not new. But we must not allow it to degenerate. We must do whatever it takes to sanitize the university system. That's the only way that even outside of our country, the degrees that our universities give to students will be seen as credible, because all kinds of problems abound. Students don't spend enough time, studying. Energy crisis ensures that they cannot prepare sufficiently for their exams. ASU strike here and there. So people have come to think that the degrees emanating from our tertiary institutions are worthless. If you are in competition for a job with somebody who trained abroad, they are going to employ the person who trained abroad. And you could actually be more brilliant than the person who was trained abroad. So some of these problems, the fact that it's so easy for people to score high grades even when they don't merit it. Yahoo boys, they don't go to school. They simply send money to their lecturers, and the lecturers ensure that they pass. All kinds of problems. So, well, we just have to address these problems, disgrace the lecturers concerned. How can somebody on the rank of professor be chasing anything in skirt? Some students, by far, far young enough to be their own kids or their grandchildren. It's a matter of concern, and this kind of lecturers should be shamed. They should not just be fired. They should be shamed, brought to court. Let the media houses be able to film them, show their faces to our people, because they've shown that they do not merit the job that they've been given.
All right. Most times, political correctness and legal justification for actions do not go together. Eligible voters and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, have been at loggerheads over extension of the ongoing continuous voter registration due to end on the 30th of June. The Federal High Court, sitting in Abuja, has issued an interim order restraining INEC from going ahead with its plans to end the ongoing exercise at the end of the month. Applicants are urged the court to extend the voter registration period to avert disenfranchisement of many yet to be registered Nigerians willing to vote in various elections. The level of awareness, Dotun, is now very high. But to be fair to the Independent National Electoral Commission, they started out on time after the 2019 election, telling Nigerians, please, once you are 18, go and pick your PVC. But you know, we like this fire brigade approach. I remember, if you go to the portal of INEC, I remember the time they started. And at any of these off-season elections, there's always a time frame because of they have their timetable backed by the electoral law. So that from this time to this time, you'll be able to pick up your PVC, the deadline to pick up your PVC to election time. So trust our people. The awareness is now very high, and there's a kind of crusade going on online that get your PVC.
I think there are so many issues woven in here on this PVC. Like you have said, we have laws guiding the process. But if you ask me, I don't see so much sense in that law. Restricting when people can have access to register to vote.
And maybe planning
in their own country. Leave planning out, sir.
Yeah.
If a child turns 18 today, and election is tomorrow, he should be able to vote
We don't
tomorrow.
have updated database.
Exactly. That is why I said there are so many issues involved. Why can't we access the technology worldwide, despite our belief that we are backward technologically? Nigerians are doing well in the IT sector. Worldwide. Phenomenal.
I'm telling you.
We rank very high. So what are we saying that we lack as a country rather than planning?
We don't have
being futuristic.
synchronized,
Exactly.
We have driver's license, we have
It is the same you
BVN,
do with
we have
driver's
NIM, we have LASRA, we have national
Everything
ID
is
card,
there.
but we can't synchronize it.
Thank God that this time around, they are not even asking those of us who have the PVC to come and register. You remember there was a time, it was every
that you have
election
to do.
cycle.
Yes.
You have to go back to register.
Yes, there's
Thank
what
God.
they call temporary
Even
voter card.
beyond the temporary. Even when
You
you
convert it
still
to go and
must
get the
come back
permanent.
to come and register. There was a time in this country, if you wanted your driver's license, your data, you must go back to input it every time it expires. These things shouldn't be so. Now the driver's license is better. You can sit in the comfort of your home, send those details, and then when it is ready, they call you to pick it up. That is what we are talking about. In other countries, you don't wait.
I was quite impressed when I went to the road safety.
The Federal Road Safety Commission
to do the
it's
capture detail.
far better.
Very,
And you see it.
yes,
So once it
organized.
expires, you don't need to
Biometrics,
go back for your biometrics. It's there in the system. And that is the kind of thing that we should have. That you give birth to a child, once that child follows the process, One, it goes to the National Population Commission to obtain the birth certificate, to do the register. Then that child should be in our system to the point where he or she can get a driver's license, get registered to vote, and other things. We are so backward. The second issue is, even with the court pronouncement now, try and follow those areas where we have had this huge crowd showing up. Go to TBS, for instance. It has thinned out since. And why did it thin out? We still have time. Again, because the court has said so. And INEC has accepted to extend the period. So we have time. Let us sit back. When the crowd thins out,
NIM something.
it was the same thing.
Till today, I asked somebody that wanted to go and she needed to travel out and she doesn't have international passport and sent her to the immigration office. And the first thing they asked her was,
Where is your NIM?
And she said she doesn't have.
Simple.
Where have you been?
And you see that most of those who are struggling now to register, they are people who have been locked out of their shops because the market leaders are demanding for PVC before allowing them in. The churches have said June 26 will be Operation Show Your PVC. I'm sure you watched that Catholic father
In one hospital.
who said, no, apart from the doctor in the hospital is a good one. The Catholic father said, you will not enter this church for service today if you don't show me your PVC. And those who didn't have, he told them, go back home. Go and register. Must we wait until such a period?
Paul, your take on this?
Nigerians have this laissez-faire attitude towards some of these things. I mean, it's just in the nature of Nigerians. But the question I even want to ask is, when INEC started this thing in 2019, how much of mobilization, how much of awareness campaign was done by INEC? You understand? You say, no, they did, but
You just like this last
I
minute
agree.
thing. That's the bottom
I
line.
agree. I know that we have this laissez-faire.
We should give it to INEC this time around.
When you know the people you are dealing with, how sustained
Look at
was
the
it?
number of times the NIM guys, the number of times
Yes,
that
I
it was
agree.
extended.
Now,
One of the things that pushed it to the front burner was the struggle in the PDP for the presidential candidate's ticket. Peter Obi's movement
Yes.
caused a lot.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now that we have this,
There's an obedience movement now.
Now that we have this awareness, people are going to the PVC centers registration centers. I think that, like he said, voter registration should be continuous. Someone who wasn't 18 last week, maybe 18 now. Okay. And there are, even between now and even after 2023, you are going to have a lot of off-season elections. And I think voter registration should be something that is continuous. We should learn to deploy technology. And this issue of people, a lot of people queuing, and sometimes it's very difficult for people to even get themselves registered. People are queuing and there are struggles. So we should need to eliminate all of this.
Okay, let me ask Jide. Jide, what do you think is responsible for this rude awakening in terms of collection of PVC?
Our people usually leave things to the last minute before they show interest. If it was a lot easier, I'm sure we won't be talking about this problem. There were days when people queued up as early as 5 a.m., yet they'll go back home unable to register. So the system has to be made much easier for our people. If it is not made much easier for our people, it will be difficult for them to vote. Sometimes I'm going to work early in the morning, passing through Aino and some of those streets in Ojodu, and I will see a huge crowd. It's unfair to simply blame our people, just blame our people for this situation. Many people cannot afford to not be at work for many hours. But that is the situation that the NIN thing imposed on our people, that even the voter registration exercise imposed on our people. Sometimes our people are subjected to extortion just to be able to register. If you ask people to tell you their stories, some of them were made to part with money just to be able to do the NIN. And you wonder why so many people just stayed away. It's because the system it's made so difficult for them. And then there are some who had been registered somewhere. And because where they are is currently unsafe, they now want to go and register elsewhere. You are wasting your time. Once you get to the point where you are to register, your name will be flagged. And once you've registered before, you are not going to be allowed
the information is
to
already on the
register a
database.
second time. Yes, look at
can't do
even this
multiple registration again.
election. This last election in Osun, in Ekiti, so many double registrations were discovered. When we are saying some people had not registered, some registered 2 times. So if you want to relocate to somewhere, you need to transfer your registration. It's not to go and do a fresh registration. No. So there are all kinds of problems, but I believe that our people, they need to make the system a lot easier for our people. You just stroll into the place, register, and go to work. Instead of having our people start queuing up as early as 5 a.m. just to register, as long as it remains difficult like that, more and more people will not take up the opportunity unless they are forced.
Okay.
And you don't need to force our people.
BKO, we have to take this break. This is Journalist Hangout. In case you're just joining us, there is fire on the Halo Temple of Justice, and it seems nobody's running. In a first of its kind protest letter in the 58-year history of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, the justices chronicled the operational challenges and poor welfare that have almost crippled efficient adjudication of cases in the apex courts. The aggrieved justices, led by the second most senior justice of the Supreme Court, Olukayode Ariwola, listed the issues to include vehicles, electricity tariff, supply of diesel, internet services to their residents and chambers, and the epileptic power supply to the courts. But the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, has responded to the protest letter sent by 14 justices. In a statement issued by his spokesperson, Justice Mohammed addressed the wide-ranging issues and stressed that judges are to be seen, not to be heard. Don't you think this is hypocritical on behalf, on the part of the CJN? Because what Justice Ariwola and 12 others, what they are just stating is the obvious. What is, bedeviling the country as a whole right now?
I think what the CJN should have done in this wise was to take responsibility. In his statement, he made some, he said some profound truths, like you have just said now. It's just the problem of the country. For instance, look at the issue of diesel. The CJN is talking about a budget that was premised on 300 naira per liter of diesel.
Wow.
Diesel, as we speak, though he said in his own statement that diesel is now 700 naira, but it's hovering around 1,000 a liter.
Wow.
So how do you make a budget of 300 naira?
Even broadcast stations now, they are not shutting down.
Yeah.
Level 12.
How do you make a budget of 300
hours now? They can't afford it.
How do you make a budget of 300 naira and you are spending 700 naira on that same thing, 1 liter?
So power must, power will be unavailable sometimes in the courts.
It's just obvious that we are generally in this country in a critical situation. Because if men at that level, if the justices, if their lordships at that level are complaining,
vehicles,
you can imagine
electricity tariff, supply of diesel, internet services,
in fact,
to the residents and chambers.
The only area where I see that they raise something very personal with the CJN was about his traveling with his family and the issue of their training, where, let me quote them. They said, "We demand to know what has become of our training funds. Have they been diverted, or is it a plain denial? Your Lordship may remember that the National Assembly has increased budgetary allocation to the judiciary. We find it strange that in spite of the upward review of our budgetary allocation, the courts cannot cater for our legitimate entitlements." The question is, that budget, is it being funded? Because we see what happens in the ministries.
Was it remitted?
It is what is available that you work with. So, from all that they have said, it shows us something, and clearly too, that like we, the masses, will say, the rich also cry.
Dada?
Well, I feel that there is a breakdown in communication between the judges and the CJN. Now, if these are the issues, you talk about the cost of, high cost of diesel and all of that.
An epileptic power
Was
supply.
this sufficiently communicated to these judges? 14 judges. The petition was led by the second most senior justice, who should be very close to the CJN. I expect that he's even the one that should be talking to his colleagues.
Because
exactly.
in
That talking
it might be
to his colleagues on behalf of the CJN that this is actually the problem.
If he's not, the CJN retires today,
Exactly. Exactly.
The
They
next
said that
person-
this thing was discussed in March. They complained. The issue of accommodation. How long does it take for accommodation to be provided for judges who don't have it? Why are they not being accommodated yet? Why are we just hearing it now? Why all these excuses? Then the issue of the training. The fact that these people cannot go with their research assistant. This whereas the CJN, as alleged, goes with his family. It's a very critical issue. The answers were not given. The answers to that were not given in the CJN's response to the petition. So I feel that there is something is the relationship between the CJN and these judges is opaque. There is a lack of transparency somewhere. I don't know where to cast the blame, but I think it's going to be interesting. We have not heard the last of this matter. I remember also they said that if these things are not addressed, they will take it up. They will take it up.
That's the threat.
Okay, Jide, do you agree with Justice Mohammed, that judges are to be seen and not to be heard?
Well, as seemingly harmless as the goat is, when you push the goat to the wall, the goat fights back. By tradition, they are not supposed to be heard. It's unheard of that judges will protest publicly, judges will embark on industrial action, but they are human beings and they must have felt that they had suffered in silence enough. Some of the arguments that the CJN's aides came up with are untenable. In fact, some of those arguments make no sense. If you are saying that, you see, the judiciary is an independent arm of government. If you are talking about the fact that, yes, diesel is expensive now, this and that, do they set a time limit for them in Aso Rock, for example? Do they tell them that once it's 4 o'clock, people should close their offices and go home, that they can't work because there will be no diesel to power the engines?
Because it's an independent tier of government.
Their own argument, his argument is that it's not as if those things were not being done, but that they had not done enough. So by even admitting that you had not done enough, it means that the judges were right to protest.
Exactly.
And don't forget, it wasn't as if they even publicly protested. It just happened that the memo leaked. So the memo leaked, that's why you and I are aware of the rot that is going on. If so much money is allocated to the judiciary to take care of certain welfare needs, and those judges are not being taken care of, some of them are riding rickety cars, some of them, they bought bad vehicles for them. Look at that memo, the response to the judges is actually saying that, oh, those who bought bad vehicles, they need to challenge them. They need to query them. Why did the system even allow that to happen in the first place? That judges won't get the kind of vehicles that they need. The truth is, judges are not well paid in our country. That concern had been there. That concern had been there. And if you are not paying judges good wages, if you are not paying them the kind of money that some civil servants earn, in fact, I've been told that there are some people heading some federal government agencies who earn 10 times the salaries of a judge. 10 times the salary of a Supreme Court judge. Somebody working for the same federal government, earning 10 times what a Supreme Court judge earns. It makes no sense. Whatever it is that these people deserve by way of their welfare, it has to be provided. The judiciary is not subservient to the executive.
At all.
As a result, the CJN must push hard that, look, what should come to us, so that he can effectively take good care of his colleagues. Because he can be embarrassed. He's saying that they should be heard, not seen. If those judges decide that they are not going to sit, they are not going to hear cases, will Justice Tanko go and hear cases all by himself? Can he do it alone? So he has to address those concerns instead of coming up with this kind of press statement that does not address fundamentally the issues that these judges have raised. It's unheard of for them to complain. But for them to have complained, it must be that the issue had reached this point. And once the issue gets to this point, it's a matter of survival. You don't expect judges to go and be doing contracts. Many people do contracts in our country, go up and down to make extra money. By their position, they should not do that. You must provide all that they need. And I want to believe that the executive has to also look into this issue. All the stakeholders must come together and address the issue of poor pay for judges and as well as their poor welfare. Once this is addressed, there will be no need for this complaint.
Doctor, I think in summary, something is wrong with the leadership of Justice Tanko, because
that's
he's
what
able to carry his colleague.
That's what the leaked memo shows very clearly. That's what it shows, because, like you said, and which BQ also repeated, if the judges or the justices all know what is going on with the state of finance of the Supreme Court, this wouldn't have come up. These things should be plain. This month, we were expecting 5 naira. But the funding, based on the earnings of Nigeria, has allowed only 3 naira to be released.
You carry your people along.
You carry them along. It is one of the things that I said I loved about some governors. One of them being ex-governor, Rauf Aregbesola. When it got to the point where there was so much problem with the civil service, he set up a joint committee. All of you come.
Labor. And anytime the allocation comes.
When the allocation comes, come and see. This is it. What do we do with the money?
Yeah.
It's transparency, because if these 14 justices, if they know that this is what we have, then we wouldn't have gotten to this point.
Well, I think the CJN, rather than defend himself in a press release, should sit down with these judges and address them. Particularly, he has to talk about what happened to the funds.
Training funds.
Training funds released. He has to talk about that. He has to
What is
convince
good
them.
for the goose?
It's good for the Ghana.
Politics, especially in our climate, is a sort of merry-go-round, regarding appointments. The end of some people's appointments signifies the beginning for others. President Muhammadu Buhari has sent the names of nominated ministers who will replace those who resigned over the 2023 elections to the Senate for confirmation. The likes of former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, Niger Delta Affairs Minister Godwin Akpabio, Science and Technology Ogbonna Onu, and former Minister of State for Education Emeka Wajuba, among others, resigned to contest the 2023 presidential election and other elective offices. The new nominees to replace them, according to the letter sent to the Senate President, are Henry Ikechukwu from Abia State, Umana Okun Mana from Akwa Ibom, Akuma Joseph from Ebonyi, and Goodluck Odia from Imo State. Others are Umar Ibrahim El Yakubu from Kano State, Ademola Adegorui from Ondo State, and Udong Odi from River State. Yes, they went and the APC primaries over, PDP primaries over, and some of the ministers that were waiting for the anointing oil from Mr. President did not get it eventually, and they gambled with their job, and some dashed back. People like Chris Ngige was smart enough, but look, it's not looking clear. The coast is not clear. People like the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the powerful Malami, just saw it that, oh, the coast is not clear for me in Kebbi State. So he had to just he held tight to his job.
I think sometimes also it is not about the coast being clear, it's also about a reconsideration of the power they are wielding now. When you sit in a position and you are looking at what you want to go for, sometimes the reality of what is on ground points you in the direction of saying, see, I think I need to sit here. This is better for me than jumping. But in this case, I think for my concern is these new people, what are they bringing to the table? Because it's the big question. Those who left,
How many more to go?
What did they achieve?
what did they achieve? Because you cannot just say you are replacing. It's just like
Were they under
you are playing.
Was there any sort of
It's just
KPI
like
for them to work with?
It's just like a football team. Like we've always complained. When the Super Eagles play the first half and the coach is sitting on the bench, we expect him to make substitutions that will turn the game around, especially when you are losing. Look at what happened against Ghana, the match that we lost, that stopped us from going to the World Cup. It was the substitutions that were wrong in the second half. We had a good compact team in the first half, despite the fact that we were 1 goal down. So I've not had time.
Scoring the first goal,
The first goal.
the coach did not have answer
No
to.
answer, no solution. We've had cases in the past in this country where the coach of the Super Eagles will just look at a subject and say, you are very strong, my son. Just go there, play them, play them, play them. That is not instruction. When you are playing a football match, I've not had time to study these new appointees between when it was announced and now. I'm going to go back and sit down and see what have they done for themselves to warrant this appointment. Or is this just political? Come and fill the space. That shouldn't be it for Nigeria now. Not even with the last topic we discussed, which shows that the economy.
We need some guys that can.
Yes, we need people who can do something.
Turnaround.
Quick turnaround. That's what Nigeria needs now. Otherwise, the way we are going, with diesel at 1,000, tanker drivers refusing to supply again because of the cost of movement, we are going to be in more trouble if we don't get the right guys.
I was talking about, let me go political now. I was talking about those who waited, because some of these people that even went to contest for the presidency, they didn't leave their states. They didn't go to any delegates. We didn't see them.
They didn't go to campaign.
They didn't campaign. We were just waiting for that anointing oil.
Anointing oil that did not come. Sometimes I wonder how some of those people reason. Because clearly, even you knew that some of them did not stand a chance of winning that nomination. And those who were wiser among them, knew that nothing there yet. So they had to withdraw. So the truth of the matter is, there is nothing. Now we know the story. Some contested, they lost. Woefully.
Some did not have one vote.
Woefully. Now they have to be replaced. Now, like Dotun said, what are these people bringing to the table? Somebody is going to be Minister of State for Education. What is he going to do about incessant, ASU strike? You know, somebody is going to be Minister of Science and Technology. How is he going to galvanize the parastatals under that ministry to perform? We've
still not produced that pencil. That was the benchmark.
We have Energy Commission of Nigeria, for example. What has ECN done? Is this a parastatal under Ministry of Science and Technology? Somebody is going to be Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. How will he help to maximize the potential of that region to achieve, for that particular region? So those are the issues for me. It's not just, for me, it's just fulfilling all righteousness. I'm not excited about it. I'm not excited about it because it's probably going to be business as usual.
Jide, what do you make of these names, the new ministerial nominees?
Yes, I'm happy that the president has finally replaced the ministers. There has always been this complaint that the president doesn't make appointments in good time. Some states have been complaining that they had not been represented in the cabinet. Now the president has made his move. Some newspapers had reported that there was a lull in activities in some of the ministries because the substantial ministers had resigned. Look at the Ministry of Transportation, for example. It's a very big ministry. That's even after aviation had been carved out of it. Obafemi Saraki was handling the maritime sector. But right now, Obafemi has had to not just handle the maritime sector, but also do what Rotimi Amechi used to do. And that transport ministry is like the face of the administration. Some of the big projects, or the biggest projects of the administration, were being done in that ministry. The rail infrastructure, for example, unprecedented rail infrastructure. So, naturally, we needed these ministers to be brought back so that the ministries can be energized once again. I'm happy that we now have substantive ministers in those places. The former SSG of Akwa Ibom State, that's Okonumana, was SSG. Yes. Everyone knows that he's very good at his job. He's a competent person, not just as a politician, but as a technocrat. So, certainly, given his track record, no one will say, oh, this person is not good enough. So the president made the right choice. He looked for a seasoned person, at least who is also APC, because in that state, not many of the big people actually in the APC. So it's gone for Konumana. And then you also have Goodluck Opia, former Speaker of the Imo State House of Assembly. Is there now to represent Imo State. Umar El Yakub, President Buhari's former SSA on National Assembly matters, is also coming in as a minister. And then Odum Udi, chairman of one of the local governments in Rivers State some time ago, is coming in. Maybe he's going to replace Amechi, no one knows. Of course, we also have Joseph Ukama from Ebonyi, former commissioner for industry in Abia State, Henry Iko, is also coming in to fill the void of his state, and then Adewale Adegorioye from Ondo State. So I believe that the complaints that the president doesn't make appointments quickly, I think the president found a way to do this quickly. In the past, it could take 6 months before a minister who left his position is replaced. Sometimes they don't even get replaced at all. So we can say that, yes, it's just about 7 months to the elections, but it is still enough time for people who are competent to leave a mark. Muritala did not spend more than 6 months in office, but he's still regarded today as one of the greatest Nigerian leaders. So those of them who are good, they can make their mark from the first day. They can hit the ground running, and people will start seeing the qualities that they are bringing to their ministry right from the word go. That is what we want to see. I felt that there should have been a cabinet reshuffle before this time. But given the nature of our president, he doesn't like to remove people, even people who are competent from their positions. He doesn't like to do cabinet reshuffle. But with 10 new ministers or so coming in, it represents in a way a little form of cabinet reshuffle. So we can only hope that some of these ministers would do their best and make a mark before the administration winds down totally.
I wanted to say before BKO mentioned it, that this would have been a kind of opportunity to, have reshuffled that cabinet. In all fairness to Minister Chibike Amechi, that contested, he even did well in that primary election. He became second. In all fairness, as the Minister of Transport, he made his mark, and hardworking man, and you can feel the impact from the Road project, and that project is close. If you talk about Minister Fashola, you could pick, but you can't say the same thing about some ministers that's still in the cabinet.
Well, like you have said, and which BKO said, I think by the time these nominees are cleared, the president should use that opportunity to rejig the cabinet. Look at those who are doing well. I thought that after the primaries, since it's not like these people are now lepers that can't be touched, some of them who are not vice presidential candidates, who have not gone back to pick senatorial tickets.
People like Amechi
could have been
just come back to come and finish.
My thoughts. Because when you lose some people,
good hands,
and they are not serving that purpose for which they resigned. It wasn't like they were forced out. They resigned to go and pursue an ambition, and that didn't go through. Nothing stops you from saying.
But some people will say, is that not double standard?
I mean,
you should give the chance to other people to.
That is what leadership is about. You take the blame, and at the same time, you take the glory. If you succeed, you are going to be praised. If you fail, it comes back to you. So it's
that sentiment.
Yes, I agree absolutely with him, except that he will have to go through Senate screening. But I'm sure it's going to be since they already know him. I was going to talk about Amechi in particular, because the truth is that he performed just like you said. And he has set a record that whoever is going to be there will have to struggle.
You need a performer there.
Exactly, to me. People are going to judge whoever is going to. Yes. We are going to judge by Amechi's standards.
And
he has less than 1 year.
They are not completed.
He has less than 1 year to prove himself. But it doesn't take. Vicky will talk about Muritala Muhammad performing within 6 months before he was assassinated. It does not take more than 2-3 months for a good minister to show promise, to show what he's made of. So we expect that people who can perform are able to handle critical ministries. So cabinet reshuffle, fine, it's welcome if that's what's going to help it.
Jide, do you agree with Dotun that some of those old guys that went to go and try their luck in the presidential race would have been reintegrated into the fold?
Maybe an Amechi. Otherwise, the
Amechi
rest
seems
of
to be
them, there's
consensus.
no, I don't see any big deal about them. Apart from Amechi, I don't see any big deal about the rest of them. And the truth is, Nigeria has tremendous potential, human resources. Amechi certainly can be the best to do that job in the country. There are other people who will even do the job better if they get the opportunity. So in a nation of 200 million, a minister is easy to replace with someone better if the president will look around. So this is the thing.
Beyond that circle.
And
That's the issue.
yes, if the president will look around and he has the benefit of people who work with him, help him to comb the country, they can find people much better than the Amechis of this world. Let's not make it look like they are the only people who can work. If others are given the resources and the opportunity given to Amechi and the rest, there are many Nigerians who will do a much better job. Many Nigerians very well experienced.
Our time is
even
fast
in
spent.
that
We have to
field.
leave it there. Thank you for your contribution all the way from Abuja. Thank you. And Paul Dada, thank you for your contribution today. And Dr. Oladipo.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Don't forget to join us every Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.